Okay, people are still coming in, and we're just going to let them do that. And what I want to say is we are just so happy you're here. So my name, for those of you who don't know you, is Dr. or don't know me, is Dr. Pamela Moss. I'm known as the Soul Guide, and I am so delighted that you are here for this very important conversation about how to heal wounds related to racial injustice. So this is a powerful conversation. It doesn't matter where you are in this situation. This is for you. And we have a really amazing conversation set up for you, basically. So what I want to do to welcome you, and we're still letting people in. I see that, and there's people are still coming in. So Dana, I trust that you're watching the waiting room and just letting people in as they keep coming. So I just want to let you know about what we're going to be doing today, the flow of our conversation. So this conversation is about healing wounds that are related to racial injustice. And it has also to do with looking in at ourselves, of course, because that's how this healing starts. And this is really how it happens. So what we're going to do in this conversation is give you some ways to explore what's yours to do in response to heightened racial tensions, and how can you become an even greater conduit for love and light in the world? Because if you're on this call, you're interested in that. This is also about receiving truth and wisdom we have two extraordinary light workers as our guests today. I'm going to introduce you to them shortly. And I want you to be able to experience the joy of holding space for what hasn't been heard and for digging into things from a perspective that's the higher perspective and maybe not the one that you see in ordinary reality out there. And we're also going to discover how can we consciously cultivate a spiritual support network that will help to eradicate the social limitations and constructs of race, because it's a construct, right? It's something that's been created. And we also want to learn how we can individually and collectively shift from isolation and fear and chaos to reconnection, love, and syntropy, which is the higher order, the harmony that arises out of chaos. So that's the sort of things we're offering as the teaching points. But really the intention for this call is to actually have an experience of deep connection, an experience of healing around this topic by listening and hearing and understanding. And I want to share, to begin with, just to open this up, I want to share with you the vision that I had a few days ago, because this was really powerful for me and expresses the energy of what's going on in these times. And and actually, before I share the vision, though, perhaps I should introduce you to my lovely partners here who are part of this, and then I'm going to come to the vision and take you through it. So I'm just going to see in the order that I see you. So the first one I see is Naima Smith Taylor. So I met Naima when I sat next to her at a conference, and what I just noticed about Naima right away was her beautiful energy, and I was just like so drawn to her, like from across the room, like I want to be near her. So, but what I've learned about Naima is she's not only a light worker, which is where all that beautiful energy comes from in her heart. She's also somebody who can really help people to tap into their I am presence, what's really the heart of who they are, and to reclaim their powerful connection to source. And she's also she's also an artist, and she's gifted in many ways. But what I love about her in particular is she is the I am presence. She's walking around being that. And she's reminding us, oh, right, I could be that too, my own flavor of that. So Naima, we're going to hear a lot more from you, but I just want people to know what an extraordinary human being you are and how glad I am that you're with us and that you helped to co-create this. We've had such a joyful time co-creating. And the next person I see is Elizabeth Tripp. And Elizabeth Tripp is also the first person this thing started out in a conversation with Elizabeth. And I'm so glad she's allowed it to evolve into something so much bigger than we had originally intended. So Elizabeth is a lifestyle design coach and a spiritual teacher who guides people from a soul level to get to the source of their pain, to let it go, and to create a lifestyle that they love from the inside out. And Elizabeth, that's her kind of official credentials. But what I know about Elizabeth is she has this just real pure, graceful way of just flowing with what's going on and and always looking for and seeing the higher perspective and the soul perspective, like really seeing that we're really on a soul journey, and everything else that we think we're doing is not what's really happening. We're really on a soul journey. And she is that soul journey. She embodies that, and she really helps people to go on it with so much more lightness and ease, because it can feel pretty darn challenging. So glad you're here, Elizabeth. Really, really grateful for your presence. And then there's Nikki Gomez. So what I want to say about Nikki, and each of these women are just extraordinary, as you can tell. So Nikki is a first and second degree angelic Reiki practitioner, and she's a highly intuitive spiritual counselor. And she offers spiritual intuitive counseling for people who are seeking a deeper understanding of their soul journey. And what I love about Nikki is she's not only all that, she's kind of a seer. Like she really has the big picture. She really gets the download. She knows what's going on. And she knows what's going on a collective level. And she also knows on a very intuitive individual level. So I'm so grateful. And she's a powerhouse. I'm not even going to talk about her whole other life as a fashion consultant and top model and whatever else. But like all these women have just extraordinary stories. And I hope they're going to share some of their stories with you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share the story I was talking about earlier, the vision that I had, because this sets the context for what we're doing. So this vision came to me. What I saw in my visions, I saw this really powerful African woman, a guide. She called herself a guardian. She had this elaborately wrapped turban, this robe, and this big necklace. And when I saw her, she was standing on a hill with her arms up like this. And lightning was coming out of her body, like, and what it was doing is the lightning was going out into the world, and it was cracking and breaking open and breaking down everything in the world that needs to be cracked open and broken and down, that needs to fall down now. And that was happening. So the energy went out and everything just went, collapsed. And then she pointed to the place in the wreckage, like there's where the earth was kind of scorched. And I saw there's this beautiful little white flower there. And as I watched, it's like it kind of had little petals curled out like this. But as I watched, it got bigger and it turned into a fountain. And the fountain got bigger and bigger and bigger. It was just so beautiful, so beautiful. It's this beautiful white golden light of water that was so nourishing. And then I saw that people from all over were coming toward the fountain. There were Black people and brown people and white people and all different kinds of people. There were prisoners and prison guards. There were rich people and poor people, old and young. There were people from every political persuasion. There were all kinds of people, and they were all coming up from all over to the fountain. And what they were just seeing the fountain. They were just guided to it. They came up to it and they saw it, and they would bathe themselves in this pure water, like washing themselves off after the destruction of everything that needed to come down. And they were rubbing themselves off. And then they started to notice, I'm not here alone. There are other people around me. As they looked around each other, they actually really saw each other, like, like really saw each other. And they were moved by really seeing each other. And I'm getting moved just thinking about it. So, and they started to reach out to each other, and they were holding hands, and they were touching each other's faces, and they were hugging, and they're like, oh, there you are, there you are. And it was so stirring to me, because that's kind of what's going on now. We have an opportunity. I'm just going to be verklempt. We have an opportunity to connect in that deep level. That's what our hearts are crying out for God's sake. And we just cut through the clutter and connect in this really deep way. And so that is what the invitation of this call is about. And what the guardian told me, she said, this is the pure well. This is the true fountain. And as I bathed myself in it, I felt this is the water of life. This is the energy of the heart. This is like the field of energy that we want to play in. It's the same field that the poet Rumi called, there is a field out beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there. That is the field of the heart. And that is the energy of this fountain of light that we are bringing to you, that you also have within you. Maybe it's kind of like just a little fountain right now. Let's see if we can light it up. And I want you to actually let yourself right now, imagine yourself under that beautiful fountain of light. And just open up your crown chakra. Just open up the top of your head and see if you can just receive that beautiful energy in through your head. Let it bathe you inside and out. Just feel that beautiful fountain that wants to come into you, that's there for your own upliftment and empowerment. And feel it, imagine it, see it, sense it, however you experience it, going down through your power column, the center of your body. And if you have water, you might want to drink some and drink it in as the water of life, the water of that field of the heart. Mm. And just feel how we are all connected through this beautiful fountain of water of life. There is no one who is not part of it, no one who's not welcome to bathe in it, no one who isn't enlivened by drinking it in. Oh my goodness. So now what I want to do is just let you experience that for a moment, just drinking that in, feeling how we're all so connected to one another, whatever we are in the world, whatever the color of our skin, whatever we think makes us separate, we all have that in us. Ah, good. And so I want to turn things over to Nikki to give a short blessing for us. And Elizabeth is our moderator is going to start guiding us through our process today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela, and thank you for that beautiful visualization and visual that you received. It's very moving. So I invite everyone to please close your eyes. And I'd like you to take a deep breath in through your crown and imagine pink and green light going through your crown into your heart center as you breathe in. Good. Breathe out. We're going to do that again. Breathe in. Hold it in your heart center nice and deep. And then breathe out. As you breathe in this final breath, I invite you to please remember a time where you felt seen, where you felt loved unconditionally, where you were held and you felt safe. And I'd like you to hold that feeling deep into your heart chakra as you breathe in. Ready? Breathe in. Hold that love. Let it embrace you. And exhale. I just invite you to please just think about and feel that love, that unconditional love, and spread that love, that energy all around you, to everyone on your call, to everyone in your home, to everyone in your town, in your city, and in the world. Share that feeling right now from your heart chakra. Let everyone feel the same safe, love, unconditional energy that lets them be seen. Hold that vibration for about 3 more seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to pass things over to Elizabeth now. That was beautiful, Nikki.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I feel so honored to be here today and to really be a part of this incredible call of action to heal racial wounds. And I'd really like to begin by welcoming you all. So many people on the call today, and that just speaks volumes to the incredible hearts and souls of people around the world to come together. And I want to thank Pamela so much for seeing the value of my work and opening up this space and really building this special gathering. It was an incredible process. And I also want to thank Naima and Nikki for opening your hearts, being so open to collaboration with Pamela and myself, and really paving such a powerful, I'm going to tell you, this is so powerful discussion today. So I truly feel Spirit has brought us here together for a reason, a very, very special reason. And truly, there is no coincidence to why you're all here. Your soul guided you. It brought you to this event. And that's because you're ready to open up to something inside of yourself. You're ready to see, ready to understand, and about others as well. I want to really share with you why I'm a part of this call to action. You know, I spent countless hours in meditation with Spirit, exploring the why, exploring what was mine to do, exploring my role and feeling how can I end separateness and the inequality that so many people are facing and have faced. I recognize I've never been privy of a world of injustice in the way that I've been hearing others cry out about. Over the last few weeks, the racial unrest in America has grown louder and louder, and there have been so many feelings. And really what I was left with was this tug of war inside myself. You know, what am I to do? And what can I say? I wasn't certain about my role, and I knew as a spiritual teacher, I didn't feel strong. So the question then arose inside my heart, if I don't feel strong, how can I be strong for others? And I couldn't. So I knew that that was not okay. And I decided really right away to look at this experience as an opportunity to learn and grow and evolve. And I knew the best way for me to feel strong was to educate myself, to deeply listen to the cries and to hold space for people to be seen, heard, and understood. So I called Spirit to send me people who would share with me their pain, who would help me see into and better understand their cries. And I asked Spirit to direct me to films and books and talks that would open my eyes to the important issues the Black community has been facing. And among so many things, I was guided to watch The 13th on Netflix, The Black Panthers on Amazon, Oprah's Town Hall, Where Do We Go From Here? I listened to Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man featuring Matthew McConaughey. I read up on Black history, slavery, and the generational racial inequality of our country that we faced for so long. I connected with clients and colleagues and friends and was guided right to Nikki and Naima. And I so cherished the space these beautiful light workers held for me so lovingly, for me to dissolve that uncomfortability I was feeling. So why is education important right now? Well, it helps you move out of that uncomfortable. As healers and light workers and coaches and activists, we know that when we don't feel comfortable, we must ask ourselves why. And if we don't, we'll be keeping ourselves in the dark. You see, in my practice, discomfort is a love note from the universe, directing us to expand mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So when I took a step back and I educated myself on what's really going on, I started to receive a clearer picture of my path. What was mine to do? And I started to explore the spiritual value of what was unfolding. And I saw that my spiritual education could serve as a real powerful means of transformation for myself and others. I started to understand what role I really wanted to have in racial wounds and how to heal them. And I gave myself room. This was the really powerful part. I gave myself room and asked myself, can I be okay with what I decide to do or not? And can I stand in this choice no matter what? You know, no matter what other people think. And can I be true to my spiritual beliefs? Are they valid? I asked myself all these questions. And through this process, my choice became clear. I am here to deeply serve. And I recognize the soul work happens here on earth. And we are in a current experience, a human one, inside of an earthly conversation where we are being asked to open our eyes to what needs to be healed, to open up to the mental, emotional, and spiritual value of the experience at hand. And so it became clear my role was to help others to see from a soul level and myself the value of this experience. What soul lessons needed to be learned? globally in the community that I serve, and upon myself. How can I guide myself and others to release anger, help others find voice, take a deep look into their past lives, understand why they're here today? But let me tell you, this is really important. I wouldn't have become available, or this really wouldn't have become available to me unless I educated myself to move towards the uncomfortable. Because in this action, I knew that I would be led to expansion, a deeper understanding of a world I have not been privy to. So now I stand today, empowered, ready to deeply listen, committed to serve, and open to learn and grow and expand from these beautiful, beautiful featured guests we have, Naima and Nikki. And I really, from my heart, want you to invite yourself to do the same, to go on a journey within, beyond what's comfortable, so you can make a choice for yourself and answer what is yours to do. What kind of role do you want to have? How can you let yourself receive the truth and wisdom from these extraordinary light workers? Be the conduit of love and light. So let us open our hearts and our minds and our spirits to listening bigger than we ever have before. For there is an incredible healing power in the power of being heard. So with that said, I'd like to really introduce our first incredible speaker. You guys know already how awesome she is. And that is Naima. How are you today, Naima?
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here and listening to this conversation and being open to healing.
Yeah, it's an incredible group, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So Naima, I really want to give you the floor, and we hold this space for you in such grace to really share with us whatever it is, whatever insights you feel are important, whatever's moving you right now, really whatever's on your mind that you feel as a community, we need to hear from you. So I want to hand that over to you and give you that chance.
All right. Thank you. So I just want to invite everyone on a call to just take a look at me closely. Feel me. Know me. What do you know about me? What do you know about my experience? Where did I grow up? What kind of childhood did I have? What about my parents? Who are they? Siblings? What drives me? What gets me up out of the bed in the morning? What are my biggest struggles? What were my biggest struggles? What will be some of my biggest struggles? So my first question is, what have I vested in the construction of race? What have I invested in the social construction of race? See, it's interesting. There's a curious nature about people. We are so powerful and we create, and then we do everything in our power to protect our creations, even if they're not real. So probably if you use like the socially accepted construct, more than likely, your story of who I am may not be congruent with who I really am. However, if you stepped into the energy of the infinite, of oneness, I bet you were able to witness, even if just a little bit, the essence of me, Naima, a woman who identifies as a member of the African diaspora, as a displaced African in America, as an African American, and as a Black woman. So why did I set this up? Because I just wanted to illustrate like how fragile our construction of others are. When you look at somebody, you don't know anything about them. We create all kind of narratives. It's beautiful though, because it's part of our creative nature. We are so powerful that we're able to create disguises that mask who we truly are. And sometimes we mask who other people are. We are spirit. We are connected. We are the I am that I am. We are love. We are all there is. So now I'll give you a real introduction of who I am, right? So you really do know something about me. So I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy. I don't know if anybody in the call is from Bed-Stuy, but if you're not familiar with it, it's a part of Brooklyn that I like to say for people that don't know Brooklyn, don't know New York, it is the home of Jay-Z and Biggie Smalls, right? Because everybody knows about them. Bed-Stuy is a special place because it is rich in African-American history. You have this rich prominence, but you also have this gritty street. What I like to say, some of the most grotesque views of humanity sometimes, right? Just even being in New York City, but in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy, you see everything. You see the best and the worst. So there, it's interesting. It was like my playground. It's where I learned spirituality, because you see duality in its full effect, right? You see beautiful expression to the most grimy, and it's all equal, because in Bed-Stuy, you can talk to everyone. There's no separation there. The grimy person on the street may come to your house for dinner one night. But it's also interesting about my experience is that I was supported by this strong matriarchal lineage of healers, spiritualists, old age thinkers, and people who had a thirst to understand the laws of the universe. And I grew up with that thirst, and they were nurtured. So while maybe in Bed-Stuy, you didn't talk about certain things, in my house, it was okay to talk about ghosts. It was okay to talk about ancestors. It was okay to talk about spirits and healing and the spiritual laws of the universe. It was commonplace. There was a respect for intellect. There was a respect for individuality, self-expression. Dr. Doreen Davis appreciated that, and she made sure we had that. That's my mom. And the main thing that she taught us was community, because she didn't do it alone. And I want us to think about how powerful community is, because at the core of the human experience is connection, and it's about community. So interesting, over the last couple of days as I prepared for this, I was receiving messages like crazy. I wasn't quite sure what I was gonna talk about or what was gonna come out. And some of it was full phrases and some of it was words, some complete thoughts, but I feel moved to just share it the way I received it. And so I apologize in advance if everything is not linear, but sometimes this is how spirit communicates. First point, oneness. This is our natural state. We can never be separate from each other. Even when we try, it's impossible. I like to invite you in just a couple of seconds, just for you to think about oneness. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? And as an extension of this oneness, we talk about the wisdom of wounds. And a statement goes, my wounds and the wounds of Black people are also your wounds and the wounds of the world. Here's 2 words that was shared, and I think it's probably going to be shared over and over in this conversation. Unconditional love. Unconditional love. Unconditional love, always. It's the only thing that exists. This next idea is about radical self-appreciation. Appreciation for oneself in complete totality. Appreciation is the ever-expanding energy associated with value and is associated with love. And by extension, it's appreciation for oneness, the God presence that exists in all things and all people. Radical self-appreciation also means appreciating these disguises that we've created, these false constructs. When we step into this radical self-appreciation, it gives us the space to disconnect from our disguises, from our mask, from our constructs. And the self-appreciation, it cuts through all the confusion and chaos, right? Because right now, that's what exists, confusion and chaos. It just feels like appreciation opens our hearts. Radical self-appreciation means loving yourself so much that you can only witness and see another through the lens of love. Oneness becomes the reality. So appreciate the voices that are saying, no more. We're not taking any more. Enough. Stop. We don't want to be killed anymore. Appreciate that. In your radical appreciation, find a space to appreciate the anger, the venom, the frustration, even if it's directed at you. Because if you understand oneness, you know that even that's a disguise, but you have the compassion to hold it in a space of love and in a space of light. Unconditional love is how you stand in support. Radical self-appreciation of oneness is how you dismantle the illusion of race. Use your tools, right? We're talking to beautiful, amazing, powerful light workers, all coming from different experiences, all bringing different modalities. but all sharing a common purpose, a common desire to uplift humanity, to uplift spirit, to allow us to live in our full potential. It's chaotic. It's even scary. But you have the tools to go in and get the perfect message of what you need to do. Because your to-do may not be my to-do. Your to-do may not be Pamela's to-do, or Nikki's to-do, or Elizabeth's to-do. Your to-do is here. And it will take your alignment, being quiet, and your listening and willingness to hear it. So don't feel that you have to ask African Americans or Black people or people of color or whatever that construction is, what to do. They don't have all the answers. This is a new co-creation for us to create answers together. Center, quiet, listen is your gift. Don't ask, and be confident in it. Says connect, go in, be still. Listen to the inner voice who is raceless and who is all races. Infinitely powerful and connected to all. As an extension, don't feel sorry or pity for African Americans or Black people. See them in their power. See them in their light. See them in their godship. Sympathy and pity are the opposite of radical self-appreciation. Everyday work. Not in response to, but what if we did this even when it was not on the news? Not broadcast, not the hot topic. Begin to continuously align your energy. It includes how you circulate your money, what kind of business you do. Organize with people who are looking to bust down antiquated constructions and are on a path to move humanity forward in love and in oneness. Everyday work. Question 2, how do you choose? I'm not sure what that means. I tried to get clarity, but it's saying that this is the question for people to ask. How do you choose? Okay, it's okay not to have all the answers. We're building, we're co-creating. Answers will come, light will come. Be open to real conversations. So we talked about this a lot in the background, but just this deep listening on a soul level. Nikki really talked about that, just that soul listening. And remember, we can't have a conversation about race without acknowledging it is a disguise, a false construct, a paradigm created to divide. We have the choice to recognize our creation as just that, a creation, or we can forget our power and continue playing without this awareness. Is a choice. Question 3. What is my core belief about race? Not what I want to present or make others believe, but what's really there. This is about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's a gift. And trust me, I don't like it either, but it's a gift. Right? I'm sure, just like you, I've learned some of my most, I'm not gonna even say lessons, but I've been able to expand when I've been in spaces that made me uncomfortable. I had to come face to face with something that I was in my blind spot, or I didn't want to see, or I was turning away, and when I decided to be right there with it, it created a path. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's a gift. It's an opportunity for expansion. It's a chance to clear away all that is no longer needed or no longer serves our highest good. Next word that came, opt out, but don't ignore. Opt out, but don't ignore. You don't have to participate in conversations that you don't feel are progressive, uplifting, or in the spirit of love and light. You've gotten permission now. This quote came up as well. It says, judging something does not change what it really is, which is unconditional love. That's from Arnold Patton, a beautiful light worker as well. Question 4. What are some of the judgments you hold about the African American experience and African Americans? Let's sit with that for a second. Okay. Our next little phrase that was given was new, not repair. I had a hard time understanding what does this mean? New, not repair. And I was reminded of a coaching call I did not too long ago on money mindset with a client. And she was really struggling just with this whole idea of money and scarcity. And as we attempted to deconstruct all the beliefs she had about money, it was like they were just never ending. It was more and then more and then more. It was just too much. And so maybe halfway through the session, Spirit said, come up with a new word. Come up with a new word, your own word that represents that energy. You don't have to deconstruct. You can create new because you're a creator. And this is what this is about. You don't have to repair. It's too much. And up here, this is thousands of years, at minimum hundreds of years that we even know about, of this mentality, of this game that we've been playing. We're creators. Let's create new. It's time for new. It's calling for new. The energy, I know these are light workers on this call. You feel the energy of the newness coming in. You feel the calling of spirit saying, what's next? Come on, it's time. That's old, let it go. It doesn't fit anymore. New, not repair. And this was the last thing. And it was specifically for African Americans and people of color on this call and who will hear. Not an exclusion of anyone else, but just a message that they need to hear, if this is how they identify. It is time to tap into the ancestral technologies that are part of your legacy and encoded in your DNA. Let's stop hiding our power in this fragile construct of race. It is time to use your creative power to create new experiences. We are too powerful to be victims. Everything in this physical world is a reflection of our state of consciousness. These situations that we are experiencing are a call for us to reclaim our power. Are we willing to look at these situations with unconditional love? If they lead us into a new sense of knowingness, could we be grateful for them? We are God beings with the power to create new worlds. Let's walk in the knowing and invite the spirit of radical self-appreciation to walk with us. And so it is. Thank you.
Wow. Go for it, Pamela. Do you have something you want to share?
I love what you ended with, which is like truth, like such powerful truth. People need to be reminded. And thank you for just being so clear.
Thank you, and thank Spirit, and thank this energy, because it's the space that allows us to do this work, right? We all come to the table, and if we're open, because this is not my message. This is the message that we are all calling on. So beautiful. I'm just humbled to be able to share it, but I know it is not mine. It is ours in co-creation.
I absolutely love that, Naima. And in fact, I was taking notes as you were talking because you said so many very powerful things. So I just want to reflect some of the words that you spoke, which my wounds and the wounds of Black people are also your wounds and the wounds of the world. That is so profound to really unify this experience and be able to see that it doesn't exclude anybody. And that in itself, that oneness, you know, you also spoke about loving yourself so much you can only witness another through love. And if we were to really, you know, speak out to the community, what kinds of things, what kinds of actions would you feel you would want to see people engaging in to grow that space for themselves so that they can have that lens for another? Is there anything that comes to mind, you know, actions that they can take or practices they can engage in or strengthen for themselves?
I don't have any particular actions. However, I would just reiterate, because I'm assuming many of the people on this call are light workers. Many of these people on a call, you've shown up to share more light with the world. That's the path. The path is going in and becoming more of who you are. And when you become more of who you are, you reflect it back, right? You become an reflection, you become an example. And you also dismantle all of your junk. Right?
You let go of the uncomfortable, right? Exactly. You dissolve it.
Exactly. Because you can't become more when you're holding on to less. So I say continue to work, right? Continue to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Hold space. Listen for your answers. Because there is a way for everyone to show up, to dismantle this crap. Because it is crap. I'm calling it what it is.
I want to share a few of the things people in the chat are saying in response to your message, because you can't see that while you're talking. So people are saying things like, wow is right. Thank you, Naima. Thank you, one divine power, one creation. Wow, absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Naima. Thanks, Spirit. So much love and power in your message and coming through from you. Thank you, Naima. Wow, co-creation of a new reality. I'm grateful for you, Naima. Like people are, it's landing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I thank everybody again for showing up, because this is a conversation that doesn't have to happen, right? we could sit and keep watching the news and watching the stories, but this is the true conversation that will cause change, because we already know, if we look at history, and this is now Naima talking, if we look at history, we see that change has not come through political means, right? That's a slow, tiresome, laborious process. But we know as light workers, when you change energy like this, right? The shifts, the power.
Beautiful.
And so this is where the change is going to happen.
I love that. Being the change, really connecting ourselves to being our individual change. And you spoke about we are creators, right? And that we have this ability to be able to really, create something incredible right now. And, as far as what it looks like, maybe you spoke on, we don't know all the answers, right? But to continue to educate, listen, really define for yourself what is yours to do, because you said something else. Well, what's mine to do may not be yours, and that's okay. And so I think that helps people like maybe feel less kind of, maybe they're not taking enough action. Maybe they need to do more. Maybe there's good or wrong or bad about what they're doing. Can you speak to that at all, if anyone out there is feeling that way?
Yes, it's normal. So let's normalize it, right? I don't even know what to do all the time. I'm sure even some of the words that I've spoken here will not land on everybody, right? Maybe even people that I love say, what are you talking about, girl? So these people need to change. And that's that space of where you have to be so in alignment and so connected that there is no fear, because you are showing up. That's that groundedness, and that's that listening.
You know what I really hear coming through from you, Naima, is you being so grounded in your spirituality and the, spiritual education that you were given and exposed to at such an early age, and how it really helps you stay anchored here and keeps you so empowered and strong in who you are. And you really speak to helping others see the real value of what's unfolding. And that is very, very powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I accidentally did that. I just want to share one more thing from the two things from the chat. One of them is, I feel you to my core. My senses are so alive. So there's even people are getting this. Yeah. And then there was a question, and maybe this is the last thing we were coming to this, is any advice on the path to unconditional love, which I find the most difficult to do, to be really inclusive of truly all.
And so it's the question of, what's my purpose? What is life, right? It's one of those questions.
It is rather a large question.
It's an excellent question. It's excellent. I will say this, one step at a time with intention. If that is your true intention, every step you take will be in that direction. And so you will never get it wrong. Either you make it, whatever that is, because you never make it, or you get closer. You don't have to do it all right now. It's almost impossible. You just take your one step. Sometimes too, we make it so big that it becomes elusive. It's right here. It's right here. It's about showing up, listening. And when you listen, to act on what you hear and what you feel. Sometimes it's not so big. Bring it here. Don't make it so here. Just bring it right back. And then you won't have to, the question will almost dissolve. It won't be a thought about how can I be more inclusive? Because spirit, as you get closer, you realize that that's all that exists. That's all that exists. And so just allow that, hold a question, but also be willing to allow it to even dissipate, because it creates anxiety. It creates I don't know what to do. It creates what's my next step? It creates, I don't want to do it wrong. So hold it, because it's a beautiful question, but also be willing to just take the next step and allow that to dissipate.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Very, very powerful. Do we have one more question? It is 1:57. We could avail to that. It looks like Nancy has a question on the chat. Yep. Do we want to do that? Okay.
Sure. So Nancy says, the pandemic and physical issues had me way more isolated, finding myself pulling back from any visible action. Any advice for growing in and demonstrating spirit in the physical space that we are? And Pauline, just the person who asked the question, said, as usual, a wonderful, helpful, and real response. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that she felt answered. So the second one is, any advice for growing in and demonstrating spirit in the physical space that we are in?
Yes, this is the perfect time. This is our gift. This space has been given to us so that we can do just that. Quiet time, reflective time, time to shed, time to grow, and time to reflect on some of the most meaningful relationships that we have, right? When it's so busy and everything's going on and the person's right here and you don't see it sometimes. So I would say, use this time as a gift to be reflective and listen to spirit, and you will get all the answers. So I know that's not, sometimes with my coaching clients, I say, I know that's not a satisfying answer. Doesn't satisfy, you want the steps, but it is the real answer. This is a time about listening. And Beautiful. Then obedient.
Yeah.
And the person you asked said, that is the perfect answer. Blessed and blessing.
Much blessings.
Incredibly powerful, Naima. You know, even just what you just said, it's you're empowering the other person to really look inside themselves and make a choice for themselves, and to really hear what it is that's rising within them, which is ultimately how we stay strong in experiences that may feel challenging. And I love how you unified it, that this is an experience everyone is included in, and that it doesn't not reach anybody, and that is incredibly powerful. If there is no more questions for you, are there any closing words you'd like to end with? Maybe a message that you want to share with the community here that really kind of sheds light on your powerful essence of who you are? Any last words you want to give us?
No, just I stand here in gratitude and hope that we can continue to co-create energetically after this call, which I know is happening now. That's it. Just thank you for the opportunity.
Mm.
I
Thank you.
love and appreciate you all.
Mm.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, without further ado, let's really take a warm welcoming and really celebrate Nikki to coming on. And Nikki, welcome. How are you?
Hello, I am doing very well, and I just want to thank Naima for everything that she shared, and it touched me in so many ways, and I'm so grateful that she did share those messages. And I think it's wonderful that in preparation, she's received messages, I've been receiving messages as well to share with the collective, and I think that this is so divinely planned, and I'm so grateful to Pamela and Elizabeth for putting this together as well.
Amazing. So let's go straight to it. Share with us your messages, what you feel as a community right now is important for us to hear. We give that with you in grace. Yeah.
Thank you. I think for me, my messages and the information I'm usually asked to share is often mirrored through my own experience. So in speaking on my experience, I then get the bigger picture, and then I can share the bigger picture with you in a more real, tangible way. So for me, what's happening in the world right now with these racial tensions, with the illumination of things that perhaps we were ignoring or choosing not to see, is very similar to when I was going through an awakening experience, when I was going through my spiritual journey, right? And when we think about our awakening and our enlightenment, we often think, woo, bing, everything is better, right? Suddenly life is magical and better. And we often don't think about the actual steps and work that goes into the attainment of understanding, the attainment of personal development. And a lot of times that journey is filled with pain, heartbreak, loss, change that you're not ready for, and so many things that come up that we're asked to face, go through, and heal. And when we talk about healing, that also means feeling. So we have to feel sometimes our pain. We have to face our trauma sometimes in order to look at it and choose to make a change in our lives. And we still get that choice. We can choose to repeat our cycles. We can choose to continue to be in toxic relationships, or we can say to ourselves, oh my goodness, I see now why I kept doing this thing, and now I choose something different. And the messages that kept coming through, and literally before I was even asked to be on this call, and then after I was asked to be on this call, it was pretty much the same message. And that is that the planet, Gaia, Earth, is going through her awakening, her raising of her vibration, very similarly that we do on an individual level. And so as Gaia is ascending and raising her vibration, she has to release density. And oftentimes we talk about light and dark and all of those beautiful terms, but do we really think about what it means? If we think about density of 3D, we think heavy, right? If we think about dark, we think heavy. So what is the heaviness that is being held in the planet that is asking to be released and asking us to change? It's pain, it's suffering, it's cold-heartedness, it's ignoring all of the pain and suffering. It's building the world on the backs of people hurting and their trauma. And right now, the earth is pushing that trauma to the surface, to our eyes, to our awareness. So then we can step forward and say, you know what, I recognize this pattern. This has happened before. I choose no longer to allow this to happen. And that's what we're being asked to do. And as light workers, we are illuminating that for you. And we're illuminating that for each other and ourselves. Light work is not just about healing people who want to come get healing. And it's not just about being happy and everything being perfect in our lives. It's often about the uncomfortability of the illumination of pain, of fear, of suffering. It's about us taking the responsibility to say, I no longer want to continue that cycle, and I see you, and I feel you, and I hurt with you because I am you and you are me. And just like Naima said, that race is an illusion. So if you're doing all of this work on yourself, either whether you're going through your awakening journey now, or whether you've been going through it for a long time and now you're helping others, you can say to yourself, oh my goodness, I recognize you as me, and I'm no longer going to allow you to suffer. And it is different for everyone. The work is different for everyone. What I encourage you to do, and my advice and what came through also through these messages, was through authenticity, through our work on ourselves, through our recognizing our soul's essence, through figuring out what brings us joy and light, we will heal ourselves and therefore be able to heal ourselves as a collective. And so do that work on yourself. You know, seek out fellow light workers to continue to help you on your journey. Go within. This quarantine was literally a pause for us to be able to take the time to see what we weren't willing to see and didn't have time for. And what a gift that is. So now you have the opportunity to embrace the reality of the 3D, to see the pain and suffering that was held in the earth, and to continue to help heal and release. And therefore that new earth, that 5D that we all talk about, that we want to happen so badly, that event, it's here, it's now, and it's attainable. So that's primarily what was coming through. But of course, I am open to further clarification or questions about that, or about myself if you have questions as well.
Well, it looks like, Nikki, we don't have any questions yet, but I actually have a question for you.
I'd love, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we've talked about in many ways, you know, off screen, right, in our group, and really coming together in collaboration. You know, we want to approach a situation in a way where we're making it inclusive and making it a space where people can collaborate, people can celebrate, people can come and join together and have these tough conversations, right? And so we were talking about, you know, some language to use in terms of, you know, bringing about these discussions. And one thing we talked about was the term Black Lives Matter. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to just speak from your opinion, what that means to you and how it means for us as a community sitting with you today to use it or not. What are some of your opinions on that?
Interesting. Okay. I think for me, the Black Lives Matter organization is that. It is an organization calling out for change in many of our systems, because as humans, we do matter. You know, it's not that we matter more than anyone. It's that right now we need to be aware that we do matter. And it reminds me so much of the civil rights movement of the 60s, and they would carry signs saying, I am just a man, I am just a woman, I am human. And that's really the call that is being expressed on a level of humanity. Like, we are human, see us as human too. Not as other, not as their problem, not as not my problem, but as a collective. So for me, that is what it means. And I think when you are expressing that on social media, for example, you're basically saying, I see you as a human, I value you as a human, and I understand that there is an issue going on that needs to be corrected. And so therefore I stand with you so that this issue can be addressed and can be corrected. And that's the best way I can put it.
I appreciate that, because that was something in our own conversations that I was getting clarity on and fully really understanding. And I knew that there were likely other people that had in some ways had some maybe trouble or not some footing in fully getting the clarity in that. So thank you so much. And it looks like we do have some questions. Pamela, do you want to read them?
Sure, sure. One of the questions we have is, what is the biggest struggle? Someone said, really appreciate hearing from you, Nikki. Thank you for sharing your light so brightly. And another question is, what is the biggest struggle you find with being a light worker in such a dark time? And the one thing that other light workers aren't doing that we need to be doing to support all energy during this time?
I don't classify this as a dark time. I actually see this as a wonderful time of illumination. To me, darkness is not seeing that things need to be changed, that things can improve. And so to me, I feel like my soul chose to come here now for a reason, and I am super happy to be here at this time of change, of illumination, so that we can be those change makers. Like, I get to live in my purpose. Like, how exciting is that? And it's a purpose I've always felt existed. And so now it's here presenting itself to me as a healer, as a light worker. And so what was the other part of the question? There was another part.
I just say amen. Like, I've been waiting for this. Haven't we been waiting for this for lifetimes? Like, thank God this is the time we are here for. Yeah, the other part of the question was, what's the one thing that other light workers aren't doing that we need to be doing to support all energy during this time?
I can't speak on what people aren't or are doing, because I'm not hanging out with everybody. But I would say that, just really go within and ask yourself these core questions. And Naima put them so well. Ask yourself, do I have blind spots in my own life, in my humanity, right? In my humanity, am I not seeing that I am excluding people? Am I not seeing that perhaps when I'm looking for someone to help me out with a project, I'm ignoring the best person for the job because of tribalism, or because of not really seeing that they're the best person for their job because of the color of their skin? These are uncomfortable things, but I feel like everyone has blind spots. So what are your blind spots? And look at that. And then once you look at that and you realize the truth, don't vilify yourself. It's not, you're not condemned because you had these blind spots. Celebrate the fact that you've recognized them, and now you have the ability to change that and embrace that change. So if there's an opportunity for you to embrace that change and now bring more light into someone else's life because you're aware of this, take it. And it's really kind of simple in that way. I just think that a lot of times we don't want to see our own blind spots and the fact that they exist.
Yeah,
Beautifully said.
Can I share some things that people are saying here? So, so one of the people says, preach, this is not a time of darkness. Thank you for that. And somebody else said, I see you in Black Lives Matter as a human and value you as a human. And somebody else says, truth, thanks for checking my words. And there was one question that I would love to have you answer if you're willing. Elizabeth, did you have one?
Go for it. We have plenty of time.
Okay. So Nikki, I'm wondering your thoughts about how we can individually and collectively shift from feeling isolated and fear and chaos to reconnection and love, and that higher order of syntropy that arises out of chaos when we just step into it and move through.
It's a big question.
I thought I could toss you like,
Thank you. I think, if I go back to my personal experiences, I would say that I find the most peace and clarity and guidance when I go within. I never feel truly alone. So in connecting with myself and my inner compass and my guides and my angels and all of that stuff, I tend to get directed into the right direction as to what to do. Very much in my life, on my journey, I'm given one step and then the next step is revealed once I trust that step. And so I would encourage you, especially if you're a light worker, to continue to work on yourself. We are never done. No matter how many times we think we're done and we're just like ready to teach people, like our journey continues. And there's always, I feel like there's, it's like middle school, high school, college, like, like there's always another class and a grade to go to continue to learn and grow as an individual. So keep working on yourself so that you get to the point that you can trust each step that's revealed to you and just go in faith. I go in faith. I was brought to a different state I've never been to in my entire life in the middle of a pandemic. I had the choice to go home back to New York on June 12th, and something in my guidance said, not yet, stay here. And so I'm here. And then my guidance said, you're not going home, you're going to the West Coast. Okay, I'm going to the West Coast, and I trust that. So there are things that reveal themselves to you. And when we struggle through them, it's because we're in resistance. Trust it, grow from it, and you will be guided into doing what's next and what's right.
Beautiful. I love that. And I think it also speaks to, when it feels uncomfortable and hard, there's something to, like we've been talking about, learn, grow, and expand from. There's the soul lesson availing itself. So I think what we're saying is let it be easy. Let it be a flow. Let it be natural. Just like I reached out to you and I said, I have this idea and this thing. And do you want to be a part of this? And you were like, wow, that's really interesting. Let's talk about this. And I was like, I have no idea what she's going to say. And yet your presence and your energy has brought so much to this conversation. It's been incredible. One thing that I was hearing perhaps that some people are thinking about is from a business perspective, because I'm, sort of tuning in, and there's a lot of solopreneurs or entrepreneurs in their businesses of light workers reaching people. And there's something I'm hearing, it's like, what actions can we take to create more of an inclusive light working community? So what are the things you'd love to see and to start sort of helping the community here today think about maybe implementing or taking action on if they so choose?
I mean, I think this conversation today is a wonderful example. It's inclusive. It's offering a platform to people that maybe otherwise wouldn't have this platform. So it's other opportunities like this. It's asking yourself as a business, okay, what other amazing light workers and healers and spiritual individuals do I know of color that can contribute to these conversations, that can use this platform? I think oftentimes, and this is not just a race thing, it's a human thing, we go to the people we know, right? And if in your life all you know is one kind of people, yeah. Then what ends up happening is that you don't open yourself up to all of these other possibilities of people that may be so great at contributing to your conversations and to your work. So I challenge you, open up the platform and your mind to inviting other people with other experiences into your world, and the best people for the job, right? So we're not saying just because one person is one color or whatever, we're saying really look at what they're offering and ask yourself, is this person an asset to my business as well? Can I bring them in? Can I open that door?
Beautiful.
Every new opportunity is an opportunity to grow, and then may lead to something else you never even anticipated that you'd benefit from. So why not?
I love that so much. And essentially, what I'm hearing that is sounding so beautiful is like, take this time to be centered in yourself, hear your own inner guidance, the messages, and then take action out of your own soul inspired voice, and really connect and open up and expand and really allow for the uncomfortable to dissolve through those inspired actions. And essentially, as you do that, you'll be connected as you ask, hey, Spirit, send me people whom I can really include and enliven and create diversity into my business or practice.
Yes,
right?
And it happens organically then, because you are open.
Good. So Pamela, there's a long question here from Vera Carroll. Do you want to read it? You got to turn your mic on.
There we go. Yes. Okay. This is a little, this may be, not sure if this is a question or a statement, but I will read it. Okay, so I believe we created slaves of Black people and Jewish people. Whoops. And as we awaken, we are all children of God. Respect and honor to everyone is the most important thing we can do. The pain and suffering talked about, the pain and suffering of the animals we're eating with the factory farming and terrible, cruel ways we are raising our animals is projected into our lives in fear of people. We are taking on the vibration of those slaughtered animals cruelly treated in our factory farms. I personally found for myself as I became a vegetarian and my fear of people of color and all things changed. As I purified my temple, I see all as spiritual families, children of God. As a grandmother of a wonderful interracial grandson, who I'm proud of, I believe that came from purifying my temple of tortured dead flesh. So there you have it. Yeah, that's a very powerful statement. And yes, we're all connected and everything is interconnected. Yeah, if we are, yeah. So anything you want to say about that, Nikki, in response, or just receiving that?
I've been through many different types of diets in my life. So not just as a model, so for reasons for my work, but also as a human and listening to my body, especially as I became more in tune with my body. There is something to be said about lower vibrational and higher vibrational nutrients and what we consume in our bodies. But I also feel like that's a personal journey for each individual. So yes, there's something to be said about that. And I say respect your journey and listen to your body and your soul as they work in tandem to figure out what is best for your ascension.
Beautiful.
One other part of this I missed from the same people said, others can reflect my blind spots. Those I judge as blind in some way could be the clue to my blind spot. I think that's pretty profoundly true also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nikki, I am also hearing a question around, and I similarly asked Naima, but what aspects of your spiritual practice do you feel are incredibly useful for you in terms of looking and understanding this experience from this higher level? We'll call it like a spiritual vantage point. What has lended to be so beautiful for you in your practice?
I feel like for me, it's been, well, of course, going within. So whether that's breathing or meditation. But for me, it's also been about reflection and understanding my own journey as a human. Just a little personal information I'll share. I grew up in a very traumatic childhood. And so I experienced suffering and pain at a very early age. So just quickly, I had a wonderful mother who was like an angel on earth. And unfortunately, through trauma and grief, she surrendered to addiction. And within her addiction, I was only 9 years old. She reached out to my father, who I had never met, and he also suffered from addiction. And so as the oldest child and the only girl, I then took the responsibility of becoming a mother to 3 younger siblings and raising them from age 9 to 14. I was just a child raising babies. And in that experience, I had undeniable faith in a higher power without religion. I grew up with no religion. And I had this faith so strong that I would ask and call out in prayer. And I would ask angels. And all of a sudden, what started to happen is the things I would ask for would happen. My prayers would begin to be answered. And that was confirmation that there was a higher power, right? That I was being listened to. And because of that experience and having that suffering happening in my life, and my father used to beat my mother and abuse my brother, and a lot of things happened, I was able to then reflect and go in and reflect and learn and grow and see the grace in my experience and in my suffering. Because strength comes from suffering oftentimes. Our empathy and our understanding comes from our pain and our experience. And it's how I can relate to many people in many ways. And I think that being able to have that ability to reflect on my own pain and my own trauma and see the benefit of my life experience, I've been able then to step outside of that and see it in a bigger perspective. So I encourage everyone in all aspects of your life take the opportunity to reflect and then ask yourself, what did I learn from this? What did I learn from this? How do I improve my life now because I've had this experience? Am I angry? What do I do about this anger? Am I triggered? This word triggered really irks me in a way because I think that when we use the word triggered, we often say, I'm triggered, so I'm going to like repel and go away from it. But the truth is, the trigger is the acknowledgement that there's something that needs to be worked on. So don't run from your triggers. If you want this perspective, if you want to be able to really look and see the bigger picture, run towards that trigger and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? And how can we work on this and heal this?
That's an empowered soul, what you just said, you know, asking that why and how can I work through this and how can I find my real alignment with my soul self to see the bigger perspective. And you talk about the soul journey in your work. And so do you hold in your belief that, you know, the soul comes and has a say in the design or element of oftentimes our life experiences? And maybe you can speak more about that.
Yeah, I believe in soul contracts 100%. I do believe that I chose the journey that I came through. And I do believe I chose my parents, and I do believe that they agreed to play the roles that they played in my life. That was a big healing point for myself and my father. Although I have no human relationship with him, I was able to tap into the understanding that he agreed to play the villain in my life to make me strong. He made me so strong. Like, I had this beautiful example of a loving mother. Yes, had her issues, but loved me and was sweet and kind and peaceful. And then I had a violent father, right, who didn't even listen or talk or any of the things that you would want from a father. And because he made that sacrifice prior to coming here and being my father, I was able to become a strong person, strong enough to go through all of these changes we're going through in our world, strong enough to work on myself and heal all of these wounds, and strong enough to go through all of the energy that's coming into this planet, into ourselves, because there's massive amounts of energy happening right now. And without that, I wouldn't be able to do that. So it's important to realize that, yeah, this is all part of our journey. And we are all a collective, so we still have to be aware that we can all help each other through this journey as well. But it all starts with ourselves too.
Yeah.
It starts with doing the work. It starts with reflecting. It starts with healing. So yeah, I agree 100%. That is our soul's journey.
I love that. Yeah. Pamela, do you have anything to say on that?
Just that I'm going to tell people listening too, like, we all each have some gifts, some ways you can connect with us if you feel called to connect as part of your soul's journey and to move forward. So I want to make sure we get time to talk about those and to share those links with people who are interested in doing that.
Beautiful. And there was one thing, Nikki, you said that was so awesome that I just want to highlight, was that you had this contract, you had this agreement, and it was a soul to soul agreement that, you know, you didn't know maybe happening into your earth body that was, you know, outplaying, but as you were able to ask why and move through the pain and release it, you could see the grander value of what had occurred. And perhaps maybe in your own words, that could unify some of the discussion of what we're talking about today, you know, and lends us to see the bigger value of the why, right?
Yeah. I think that it's important that if we all as individuals take responsibility for ourselves, for our growth, for our actions, for our pain, for all of it, and for our blind spots and all of that stuff, right? And we hold compassion for ourselves in this journey, because there's a lot that's being revealed to us. There's a lot we don't know. Then we can heal each other, ourselves, within the understanding that, the best way to put this, some people want to go through certain things at this time, and they need to for their soul. And it's not our place always to step in and say, I'm going to fix this thing, and you know, you're wrong for feeling this, and or how dare you. Like, it's not our place. it's important to hold space and respect the journey for everyone, because their soul's journey may not be yours, and you may not even know what their plan is and what big thing is going to come from their process and their incarnation and their whole thing. Like, you don't know it. So try not to interfere. Try to hold space for whatever they're feeling and going through, and have compassion, because you were there too, in different ways. You know, all of us have been through pain in different ways. So just hold compassion for that, because they're you and you're them, and we're all one. And it's important to understand that.
Beautiful. And I heard you touch on this really important piece of, holding space and that deep compassion. And I know so many people who are online that are deep listeners. And so can they deeply listen into what another individual is saying and hear not just the human experience, but the soul experience, in which Nikki just spoke about, and know that then that softens the good or bad construct that we put to things as human beings, right? And just lets it stand as is, and lets us each honor each other's journey. So beautifully said. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. I also want to ask Naima, because you're going like this a lot, and so I know you're agreeing a lot with Nikki, so I want you to share what you're thinking in terms, if you'd like to, and what Nikki's saying, if you want to soundboard with her.
Just Nikki is amazing, first of all. And just that experience, it just echoes. I'm just thinking about what she just said about her personal experience, and thank you for sharing that with us, and being vulnerable to share that personal experience. But it's so much teaching in there, right? So one of the things she said is just about, if you understand that beyond this may be something great. And it goes right into the download that I had, right? The question was, are you willing to look at these situations with unconditional love? If they lead us to a new sense of knowingness, could we be grateful for them? So just thank you, because it just crystallized it in a real experience, a real life human experience. Beautiful.
Thank you.
No, Pamela, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I want to share some comments from people in the chat too. So Jennifer says, thank you. This has been extraordinary and uplifting and nourishing and instructive. Blessings to all, gratitude and love. And then Dana says, I just want to hug you, Nikki. Your smile, your eyes, your words, love just oozes from you. Virtual hug.
Amazing, amazing. I love that. Well, we certainly have more time for some more questions, or there's an opportunity for, sort of as the group here, to kind of continue exploration, or, look deeper into certain subjects that maybe people want more answers on. So we can certainly open that up. And we did just get a great, beautiful message that maybe you want to read from Vera.
Yeah, let's see. This I think is from Carol again. This is another long message, but I'm going to share it with you. Let's see. Okay, our blind spot is creating terrible problems for the earth. When we think about the blind spots we are dealing with, as I joined PETA organization, and what we're doing to Mother Earth by factory farming these animals, etc., we have a blind spot. The Bible tells us all green seed-bearing plants are for meat and food. The Bible tells us in later times there will be those who will speak lies of hypocrisy. And the plant of renown, cannabis, we've forgotten, overlooked in these statements. Bible says, so this is a very long thing. Let me see if I guess I can read this. Bible says, I will give you a plant of renown that will put an end to hunger in the land, and no more will they bear the shame of the heathen. So as I walk through the stores and see masked people in fear, I believe they are carrying the shame of the heathen, because we need to wake up to the pain of the animals and all God's creations. Until we can honor all flesh and blood creatures of God, this is what the pandemic is about, to give us time to go within, ask if there is a better way. This is from Carol again. Well, the question I have, which I've just got, maybe I'll invite it here, unless there's something anybody wants to say in response to that. The question that I have is, this is so darn yummy. I just want to know, how we don't have this is a spontaneous, but but and actually this is actually, I think someone in the chat is putting this is very important. Can we honor the heathen and shadow side in all of us, including ourselves? And that's really, I think, the gift of what Nikki was sharing earlier too, and actually Naima too. Like, yeah, it's exactly the stuff that we repress and resist, which is the stuff that needs to be embraced and loved. Like, that's what unconditional love means. It's like embracing all of it and finding a way to do that. So maybe both of you could speak a little bit to that too, because that is the great question. Like, how do we do that, and really embrace that? So I'd love to hear from, well, all of us, but look, Nikki and Naima and Elizabeth and anybody else who wants to chime in on that topic.
I think it is important that we honor that. Part of what I believe when I'm working with my clients on their soul journey is it's not to vilify their human experience. I know it's wonderful to be all in light and love and try to transcend this human experience, but we did choose to be here in a physical vessel for a reason, as a collective and as individuals. And so that means that we are going to go through darkness. We are going to go through pain. We are going to get angry. That's part of choosing to be human. Had we not chosen that, we would just be wonderful, disembodied, higher vibrational beings, right? We wouldn't be here having this conversation. So honoring those things is what allows us to come together, relate, and also to unite as a people, because we all go through it. So yeah, there is no soul experience without the human experience. They all go together. And so all of the things that we think that we have to fix about ourselves, sometimes we're actually in it for a reason. And then that reason brings us to the next thing, which brings us to the next thing and brings us to the next thing. And as people, we always say, oh, okay, I'm ready to like get past this and fix it and like rush through. No, you got to go through it. you got to go through it all. It's all part of your journey, and it all deserves to have the same respect and love as the spiritual, beautiful stuff too.
Beautiful. I love that. And one thing that came to mind was, could we all entertain the notion that we're not broken and we don't need fixing, and that there's nothing unhealed about ourselves in the essence of who we truly are, that we are whole, healed, and well already.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Naima, did you have anything you'd like to add about the topic or anything else?
Just two words came up with that question. First was awareness, and the second is permission. It's pretty much the permission just lends the piggybacks on what Nikki was saying. And the awareness is just, when you're in that space, sometimes it just helps to be aware. Like anybody that is in my close circle, they know I will say consciously, all right, Brooklyn's about to come out. But the thing is, I know it, right? And I also give myself permission to just be there. I don't stay there, but I give myself permission. And I'm also aware of it. So the more awareness you have, the easier it is to say, okay, I had fun playing that game. I'm gonna go back to something else. But it's when you don't know you're playing the game that it becomes an issue. So the awareness is so important, right? It's not to do it, because like Nikki said, life happens. You experience, that's what you're here to do. It's when it's just completely like, you have no clue. So just be aware of it. Yeah, I was mean to her because I didn't like her. I judged her, I'm not comfortable right now, so this is why I'm acting this way. It doesn't stop the action, but it just gives you a different relationship with it.
I love that, Naima. It takes the responsibility back to the individual rather than, something that happens for everybody is like, we love to put it on something else. And so it's a deflection of that. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Pamela, there are some beautiful messages. You want to read them out?
There are. So let's see. Both speakers are amazing. 3 exclamation points. So happy to join this meeting. Wonderful, with heart eyes. Another one is what we see in the other is something we need to see in ourselves and to resolve with unconditional love, from Vera. Another one was, any suggestions on how to include youngsters, little ones, up to teens in this work? living it in their presence. Yes. Any specific concrete thoughts on that? And somebody else asked for any books recommended on this topic. And so we'll come back to those questions. I'm just going to share the other couple comments. Yes, love that, Elizabeth. We are whole and healed and well already. Blessings to all. And Dana says, own our stuff. So the questions again is how to include little children and teenagers in this work, like living it in their presence, anything else, and any books to recommend.
So I would like to answer the first one about children.
Yeah.
We need to learn from them. They are amazing, right? They just ooze love and they know how to bounce back and they don't take anything too seriously and they're playful and they're open and they're curious. So a lot of times I would say if we want to do anything for them, let's not untrain them out of that. Let's support it. Let's nurture it because they have it. Like they're amazing. They're like little geniuses that are so connected and we can learn from them. So I say maybe let's get a different perspective. What can they teach us? Because they're so there.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I feel like the children are coming in, especially at this time during this shift, with such a higher vibrational understanding of people and of the world. And it's so common as in our human experience to just like dismiss them for age. But in reality, their souls are closer to where we came from before we incarnated. So let's allow that to naturally flourish instead of diminishing it for a world that we were brought into, right? The world is no longer the same. So we don't need to apply the same dense belief onto these children. We need to allow them to grow and give them the tools that we had, so like, we developed over time. So we had to learn later on, oh, let's meditate. Oh, let's breathe. Oh, let's like give them these things to start with younger. And then, whoa, who knows what's going to happen? Like more and more of this energy is available to them. So let's teach them how to use this energy for the benefit of the collective.
I love that. I love that. And you spoke on a really important topic, which is that healthy communication style to have with, kids and your loved ones and colleagues and friends and family. And something I think to note that you guys are both saying is like, before you start a conversation with someone, and if you're intending for it to be exploratory and there may be reaction from another person, there may be uncomfortability, be sure that you are taking the necessary steps to find your peace and center and calm without distraction, without the cell phone, the TV, your mind all full of chatter. Be the presence that individual deserves, especially a child, and be with them in that so that they feel safe and heard and understood, so that they're not walking away thinking, well, I don't even know what's going on. And now there's fear, right? So that healthy communication piece that you touched on, Nikki, is incredibly important.
Yeah. And I'd love to add that also as light workers and healers, we've done a lot of the work on ourselves. And so we already walk with a vibration that's higher, not in a hierarchical way, but in an energetic way. And so people, whether they're children or not, will feel that and they'll see your light and they'll literally want to know how you are walking with this light. And it happens more often than not. And so just be that light, live in your authenticity and your truth, and others will be inspired to ask you what to do to attain the same.
Thank you. And I love just speaking on the children too. One of the children's most important qualities I think we need is the quality of curiosity. Like they're just curious about everything and everyone. They have no judgment. They're just like, who are you? And how come you're whatever? Like that. And that as grown-ups, we could certainly benefit from, because that's what dissolves barrier in curiosity. Like, what's it like in your world? Who are you? Like that's what the world could use more of.
I love that. There was one question about book recommendations. Do you guys have anything to suggest?
It's so hard. I feel like most of this stuff, between books, internal work, and guides, and all of that, it almost comes from within out. And so I would just suggest, when you are seeking out books and stuff, see what vibrates, what resonates with you, what matches similarly what you're feeling in your heart space, because then you'll be led to the right literature and you'll know. There was one I found that I can recommend off the top of my head. It's called It's All Frequency. And it goes into the fact that, yeah, everything is energetic frequency. Everything is energy, and what that means in your life and how to see it and apply it. So that's the only thing that pops into my mind, but there's so many others. I think I've been reading personal development books since I was probably like 11. So
There is one other question which I think is pretty important to address. I want to ask a question. This is someone sent this. Whoops. I want to ask a question about how to handle the violence, but I'm not sure that I should. So this person didn't want to put it in the chat. They sent it privately. So, like about violence and looting, or just violence in general. Like how should we handle that, or how should we approach that from this perspective?
such a big question. I think, go ahead, Naima, you go.
No, please, Nikki.
I think that it goes back to respecting the anger and the frustration and not being heard for perhaps thousands, but as we know, at least hundreds of years, as Naima had put it. And that's part of it. Another part of it is to really question if what you're being shown is really what's happening. Because if we were to go back to the human plane and the earth plane right now, there are other agitators out there that would like to distract from the overall message. And sometimes the press is only covering one visual. And that's not the first time in our history that that's happened. So I would question that too, because there are other things going on that we're not fully aware of or being privy to. But overall, if we were to go back to the Black experience, there's pain and there is a sense of you're not seeing us and you're not hearing what's happening and you're not doing anything. And so therefore, some people may feel like, why play by your rules? If it no longer works and no one cares to listen and brutality and violence and pain is happening, why care that much about a target and not a person? And that's where that frustration comes from. And that's what people are trying to make you understand. But again, there's a lot of factors going on that also people are just not even seeing. So yeah, that's the best I can do on that. I don't know.
Beautiful. I think really what I'm hearing from you is that there's a lot of anger and frustration and upset that have been built inside over, hundreds of years, hundreds of years, specifically in America, and even more than that, right? Globally. And so what you're essentially saying is that this is an expression of that, right? And that it's a action that, well, how else can we get our message, heard, right?
Yeah.
And so for a child, perhaps like sitting down and having that healthy communication about, well, some people when they don't feel heard or understood get angry and it builds up inside. And so if you ever feel that way, take a deep breath, let it out, scream at the top of your lungs, punch a pillow, write it out in a journal, giving them like tools to deal with their emotions so that they don't feel overtaken by the experience perhaps that they see on TV, right?
Yeah, and to honor them because they're valid. They're just as valid, It's easy to be like, oh, let's fix that and let's move past it. But I think we have to honor it, because if we don't honor it, we internalize it. If we internalize it, it turns into anxiety and fear and pain and illness and disease, right? So honoring it is important as well.
Beautiful. Anything from else, Naima, that you want to piggyback on that or share?
I think Nikki hit it on the head. I was going to say exactly the same thing, right? It's just understanding why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like I'm not going to say the right question, but it's the question that you would use in any other area of your life. Why is this happening? Why does this if it was, I like to put it in like home, like if it was your child or someone you had a relationship with that you loved, you would want to know, why are you acting that way? Even if you didn't understand it, it would still be more curious. It would be I want to understand what you're feeling now so we can get, we can talk or we can get through this. And so I say, just like Nikki said, have that same attitude, like try to relate. It's about relating and seeing it as kind of not, this is not what they're doing. This is what people do when they're in similar situations. It's not out there. A matter of fact, if you think about it, I'm sure at some point in your life, you've had the same reaction. I can honestly say I've had when I didn't feel heard, or I didn't feel loved, or I didn't feel like I was getting my way, or I didn't feel the long list of human experiences that I reacted to. So there's a place where we can all relate to what's going on. So I just say, try to relate and X, Y.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're talking about the root frustration of just like banging your head against a wall, nobody listening or hearing, and you're like, what is it going to take? I'll break the wall now. Will you listen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're coming up toward the end of the hour, and obviously this is a conversation that could go on for a very long time. It's big, it's delicious, and we might want to talk about more ways to continue it. But for now, I want to make sure everybody has ways to connect with each of these beautiful beings and to receive their gifts. So I want to have each of you share what you have prepared to share with people, and I'll put the links in the chat, and I'll also have them in the replay so people can get them there. So let's see. I mean, Naima, why don't you go first and talk about there's two things in particular that you want to share with people and offer to them. I think they're both, I've experienced one of them myself, and it's really a very powerful group of amazing, largely Black women entrepreneurs, but not entirely, just having really powerful conversations and supporting each other in beautiful ways. But I want to turn it over to you, Naima.
You explained it perfectly. So it's called the New Success Code, and that's literally what it is. It is women supporting women, right? It's about self-expression, because the way this was created is that we have these definitions that we subscribe to that no longer serve us. So it's really the same conversation, just in a different expression. This conversation has to do with success, but it's really what we're saying about race. These constructs don't serve us. And so what that group is about, in a very subtle way, but playful way, is for us to represent different ideas, different topics, and we just talk about them in a very sacred environment where people can really express how they feel. No judgment, and with support. So that's the New Success Code of that group. And the second way is, I thought it would be, we talked a lot about the I am. That was the message. That was the I am that I am. The I am that I am oneness. And so we have this beautiful pledge. It's called just the I am pledge. And I figured I would share it as an expression of this oneness that we talked about here today. And this is something what I'm feeling in my heart is that there were some questions kind of in this presentation that if anybody wants anything that was in the presentation, feel free to email me and I can share it as well.
Beautiful. And before we go, I would love to have you lead us to that I am meditation and blessing at the end. So just putting a bookmark in for that. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Nikki, would you share your gifts, please, or what it is that you're inviting people to connect with, or just your website, or whatever?
Yeah, my website is umasgayahealing.com, and I offer angelic Reiki, currently distance angelic Reiki, and it's a beautiful modality where I'm able to channel high vibrational angelic energy into you so that the angels can go ahead and do their work with your permission, and help you heal whatever you need to heal and the change that has to happen in your life that you're calling out for. I also offer empathic soul guidance counseling, which is one-on-one counseling with me. We can set up several sessions if you'd like and discuss where you are in your journey and what you'd like to work on, and really take an empathic approach to that. And what I mean by that is I'm able to hold space for your journey, for your experience without judgment, and just help shed a light on maybe the decisions that you're making and where they're taking you in your life. And then we can map out what works best for you based on that experience without judgment. So yeah, it's a really powerful thing. And I have some clients that I just love working with and I see every week, and we just sit down and just have these great conversations. So yeah, I'm offering that. And if you also look me up on YouTube, Uma's Gaia, I also give energetic readings of the planet. And usually they are monthly. So depending on what's going on, I'll tell you what physical symptoms you may have with the energy that's happening and where all the shift is happening on the planet.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I'm actually really curious about the name Uma's Gaia, which is so powerful. I want to really thank both of you, Naima and Nikki, for coming today and sharing your beautiful gifts and insights and wisdoms. It was incredibly powerful. I offer out there anyone who's interested to connect with me, just to hop on my website. It's elizabethtripp.com. It's a great space to get to know a little bit deeper about my work and connection to spirit. And I channel spirit and use myself as just a conduit for information. So I love doing that to help people on their soul's journey.
Awesome. And I just want to add mine, that we're going to go to the beautiful blessing that Naima is going to guide us through the I Am meditation. So my website is thesoulguide.com, and the gift that I have there for you is my Inner Wisdom Treasure Chest, which is a beautiful collection of very powerful tools for clarity and transformation. And I also offer people the opportunity to apply to receive a clarity consult, which is about getting deep clarity about what you want and what your system needs for that to be true. Like how do you align with that, literally? So that's a little taste of our gifts, and and I just want to, I guess it's time to turn it over to you, Naima, to take us out of here in a beautiful way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like to close your eyes, you can, and you can also repeat after me. It's a very short prayer that will hopefully culminate this experience, this conversation that we've had together. I'm calling forth the I Am. From the Lord God of my being to the Lord God of the universe, I call forth the energy of the I Am that I am. I acknowledge the love that I am. I allow the peace that I am, the joy that I am. I declare that I am the grace of allowingness and the blessing of knowingness. I call forth now the grace of receiving, the grace of healing, the love of radical self-appreciation, and the spirit of oneness. I call these energies because I am that I am. And so it is.
So it is.
So it is.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let that ripple out into the collective. May all receive it who are ready to receive it, and all the beautiful vibration and clarity we've created today. Send it out to all. Unless there's anything, I think that feels like that's complete. So I'm going to thank you so, so much. We're going to save this and send out the recording later. Thank you so much for being with us. And dear ones who helped create this, I'd love to check in with you afterwards and maybe have a quick chat. All right. Thank you and good night or goodbye, whatever it is for you.